Today, the latest Marquette Law School poll reveals Francesca Hong is continuing to lead in the Democratic primary for governor. In fact, she's put more distance between herself and the field. Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson breaks down those numbers.
The latest Marquette Law School poll shows Francesca Hong comes in at 38%, followed by Mandela Barnes at 16% and David Crowley at 7%. Kelda Roys and Joel Brennan are both polling at 2%. Meanwhile, 34% of voters remain undecided.
Francesca Hong has expanded her lead from where we saw it a week ago.
When the poll pressed undecided voters on which candidate they were leaning toward, Hong's lead only increased.
And at 46%, it's putting her awfully close to half of the primary electorate in a crowded field. That's really quite remarkably well. Tony Evers only won by just a little over 40% in his 2018 primary.
Is this a close race right now?
Not particularly.
Anthony Chergosky, associate professor of political science at UW-La Crosse, agrees.
Hong is the clear frontrunner, and beyond that, Vanessa, the poll today provides evidence that the Crowley gamble is not working. He is in third place.
Tuesday night, the Democratic candidates faced off in their first and only debate.
I was very surprised that none of Francesca Hong's competitors went after her because she is clearly the frontrunner, and I felt that the debate was the last and best opportunity for one of the other Democratic candidates to shake up the race.
That debate and this poll are some of the last formal indicators we'll get to see how this race will play out on the primary election on August 11th. From the Wisconsin State Capitol, Vanessa Kelson.